As a young girl of 18, I was on a set for a year and a half, never seen one before. Just camera, action, lights, sitting and admiring how does it work, what happens. So young, didn't know anything. But I just felt like I think I wanted to be able to do everything to make this happen. And once I wrapped up NDTV, and which was about 3.5 years, where I also presented the weather news. I'm training to be an anchor, and I just for me it was very clear I don't want to be in front of the camera. I prefer to be a person in charge behind. I did not know that was production. And then I picked up MTV. That was my decision, and that was my big moment, because we grew up watching MTV, So I joined as an assistant, producer. So I was working on lots of shows. I traveled a lot. So there was a show called World Chart Express, where we saw the world. And it was a countdown, top 20 international songs. Then I did something called Splitsvilla. Then there was something called, and there was lots of interesting, Lycra MTV Style Awards. That was fun. It was an award show, a big award show that we sort of worked towards. And multiple other shows which were Bollywood related, and some other relationship based. So yeah, it was a very, very interesting 5 years for me, honestly. Yashraj happened much later. Yashraj, for any and everybody, is one of the pinnacle moments of your career, especially when you want to be in the Hindi film industry, when you want to be in the films. And Shruti, the reason why we do this every single day, or we wait to do this every single day, is because this profession is, I think it's the best profession in this entire world. And what we create lives beyond us. You leave a legacy behind. A film will stay forever.
I've had the pleasure of speaking with this remarkable figure, Tanvi Gandhi. Tanvi is an accomplished executive producer and has made significant strides in the film industry. She's had the pleasure of working with Yash Raj Films and Phantom Films, with some of her notable projects being Queen, Udta Punjab, Super 30 and LSD 2. She has been recognized by Elle in 2016 as being one of the most powerful women in Bollywood. Let's look at her inspiring, powerful journey as to how she started, how she's made it big, and what plans she has for the future.
Hi Tanvi ji, welcome to Inner Habit. Thank you for meeting with me. I know you're very busy shooting and making some fantastic movies, so we'll have good discussions.
Thank you so much for inviting me and having me a part of your wonderful podcast. Thank you, Shruti. Don't call me Tanvi ji, just Tanvi is good, please.
Okay, I will try that.
Do that.
Okay, I will try that. It's very difficult. I call majority of people G at the end as a way of respect. So it's quite difficult for me, actually.
I hear you. I know you would respect me. Thank you. But it's okay for me. I'm comfortable being called Tanvi.
All right, Tanvi, let's get on with this then. So what motivated you to start your career in production?
I was a young girl in Delhi. That's where I'm from. And at that time, when I decided to move to, I was trying to figure out what to do, what profession I'd like to go in. Of course, that was also the time, Shruti, when in India, globalization had started, right? So we were getting to hear and see shows and programming that were outside of India. They were American shows, they were British shows. So somehow, our childhood, absolute young childhood, was all about the Indian shows and Doordarshan, which was the Indian channel, which had something on farmers and, once a week or maybe twice a week songs and just stuff like that. And by the time my generation ended up being young adults, which was roughly 18 onwards, we had seen more interesting programming, shows, films. And I think that triggered my interest in wanting to get into the world of entertainment. I didn't want to do the usual MBA or engineering. I think my interest had been in arts and creativity. So suddenly an avenue felt like existed, which was in media communication and entertainment. And the first thing I ended up doing right after college was in a company called NDTV, which is a news channel in New Delhi television. Again, one of the pioneering places for news, best sort of anchors and reporters there. And I ended up working on a show called Ji Mantri Ji Pradhan Mantri Ji, which was an official BBC remake for Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, which was these English sort of British shows that the BBC had done. And that, as a young girl of 18, I was on a set for a year and a half, never seen one before. You know, there's Farooq Sheikh, this brilliant actor, senior actor who's wonderful. You know, we are just camera, action, lights, you know, sitting and admiring how does it work, what happens. So young, didn't know anything. But I think what it did was it triggered my interest in, or maybe it confirmed my interest in wanting to be on a set, and also then kind of being in charge of the project. I did not know that was production, but I just felt like I think I wanted to be able to do everything to make this happen. And that pretty much was the trigger that got me to think of coming to Bombay eventually, because, you know, I just felt that if I want to be in the movies, I want to do something in the world of entertainment, then I have to move to Bombay. That's where the hub is. That's where I will learn my best. And that's where, you know, I want to be around the best as well. So, yeah.
So then you moved to Mumbai. What was your first opportunity in Mumbai?
Interestingly, you know, once I wrapped up NDTV, and which was about 3.5 years, where I had also, you know, presented the weather news. I'm training to be an anchor, and I just, you know, for me it was very clear. I don't want to be in front of the camera. I prefer to be a person in charge behind, and that led to that decision of moving to Bombay, where I told my dad, I have 4 weeks. Please give me 4 weeks. If I'm able to crack a job, I'll stick around. If not, then I'll take the train back. And I landed up. I have an aunt who lives in Bombay. So I think my father was comfortable to let me be, because, you know, Shruti, at that time, girls would leave homes either for a job, or if you're married, or, you know, if you're going for education. Very rarely would somebody say, okay, I'm going and exploring a new city. If I get a job, I'll stick around. If not, I'll come back. So I am very grateful to my father who let me take these 4 weeks, a decision for myself. I landed up, I'm you know, literally going offices to offices. Didn't know anybody, right? I'm from Delhi. I had done news. I had no idea about entertainment. I didn't know hardly any contact. So literally there were cold emails, cold, you know, just knocking at doors, calling up, just normal stuff. And I managed to get nothing in the first 3 weeks. I was like, oh my goodness, 7 days, and I haven't booked my ticket. I don't know what I'm going to tell him. And fortunately, in the 4th week, there were 5 offers, and I was like, oh my God, thank you, Lord. that's you know, literally living in gratitude that week. And then I picked up MTV. That was my decision, and that was my big moment, because we grew up watching MTV, you know, and that was the channel to want to belong to. It's what the youth watched. It's what we watched when we were growing up. So for me, it was the best gift God could have given me, honestly. MTV it was for 5 years.
Yeah, and what were you doing there?
So I joined as an assistant, you know, producer. So I was working on lots of shows. I traveled a lot. So there was a show called World Chart Express, where we saw the world. And you know, it was a countdown, top 20 international songs. Then I did something called Splitsvilla. Then there was something called, and there was lots of interesting, Lycra MTV Style Awards. That was fun. It was an award show, a big award show that we sort of worked towards. And multiple other shows which were Bollywood related and, some other relationship based. So yeah, it was a very, very interesting 5 years for me, honestly.
Okay, and then did you move to YRF, Yash Raj Films, after that?
No. So interestingly, what happened was that, so I was there from 2004 to 2009. And that 2009 was the year that the world was hit by the first recession, if you recall, 2008 and 9. And frankly speaking, we thought that we would never get affected by it because it's hitting the financial companies and it's a financial breakdown. How does it affect a media company or us? But starting to feel there's a slight change in energy in the office, and the next thing we know is that 40 of us are given the severance check and we are asked to not come from tomorrow. And I cannot tell you, my world collapsed. Like it was, frankly speaking, I felt like somebody had pulled, the floor beneath my feet, because it's a world that I had built of 5 years. It's my first set of friends. I thought, why me and not somebody else? Why was I asked to leave? There were so many emotions. You're so young at that time, right? And you have this is the first time even the world has understood, modern world has understood what global recession means, really. So we were all grappling with what could this mean for us from a job perspective, money perspective, opportunities perspective. But the minute that happened, that night I cried myself to sleep. Next morning I woke up, and because there was a severance check given and therefore I was financially kind of taken care of for a few months, it allowed me to straight away get into films. Because I would have, since I had already done about 3.5 years in NDTV and 5 in MTV, Shruti. So I was a seniorish person in television. So the decision was to go senior in TV or go junior in films, because film is a different medium. And I think that was I was happy I took that decision and I went into films as a person who would start slightly below my general level of where I should be. But so the first few projects were actually as a freelancer. I was independently working from project to project. Yashraj happened much later.
Tell us what it was like to work at Yashraj.
Yashraj, for any and everybody, is one of the pinnacle moments of your career, especially when you want to be in the Hindi film industry, when you want to be in the films. It's what we've grown up on. It's what we hear all the time. Their songs are the best. Their movies are so wonderful. And there's a combination of Yash Chopra films and then Aditya Chopra films. And then, all age groups have consumed content and films from them. So it was a big, big moment of pride for me, because I was also the first female executive producer they'd ever hired. They never had females before that. And so that was a huge moment for me. But it was so fantastic. It's a great place to work. It's a very safe, secure, and a self-sufficient sort of ecosystem, where once you go in, you feel extremely empowered and safe to operate, and you work on the biggest projects, biggest stars come in. Aditya Chopra, he's Adi sir, as we called him. He's an incredibly sharp producer, very, very smart. So great to learn under him, And of course, Miss Rani Mukherjee, who was, again, somebody we've watched and admired her in every film. Actually, she's one of the few actors who stayed consistently good in any and every film that she's done. And so for me, it was a great moment of joy and pride to do the film, with her and Aditya Chopra as the producer. So I got to work closely with both of them, and that was absolutely an incredibly learning and gratifying experience. And the thing with then Yashraj also is sorry to interrupt you, just to add to that point, that it's a place where they have the studio, they have audio, they have VFX, they have everything is within their department, within the premises. So you come in with the script and you go out with the film. It's like you don't need to go anywhere else, and that's absolutely pretty incredible for any person who's in the films to work out of there once.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I watched a documentary on Adi sir, and I know
Yes.
that he's quite camera shy.
Oh yes, yes. You don't get to see him. You have to like kind of knock and wake, ask for time, get to see him if he wants to show himself. He's quite somebody who prefers to be away from the limelight and shy, and focuses only on work. Yeah, he's
So
not
he's an
comfortable.
introvert.
He's an introvert, but to the world, but to his people, to his film people, to his core, he's a chatterbox. He only drinks, smells, eats, lives films. Like his world is cinema. So, if anything to do with that, he's chatty. But and he's chatty with his people, his family, and his core group. But yeah.
Do you feel there's been a personality change for him when Rani Mukherjee came into his life?
I wouldn't know that, frankly speaking, because I did not know him before he got. I've known him only as when they are together, right? So I think that part is kept extremely separate. She's an actor on the film. He's the producer on the film. He's also the owner of Yash Raj Films. So he operates differently. I think what their equation is and how he would be with everybody might be something that's more personal. But since I was only there when he, and I've known him only for that period of time, I couldn't say if there was change really.
They do say that some people's personalities change as another person comes into their life. So I wanted
I'm
to know about
sure.
that sort of
I'm sure
transit.
there has been. I'm sure there has been. He's got a child. He's got a daughter as well. So with being married to her, there's also being a father. So I'm sure he's changed as a person. And that people who've been there longer in the system of Yash Raj would know.
Yeah. What is it like working with Rani in Mardaani too?
It was, one of my deep, I would say, how do I say, an experience that I will always cherish. It's a feather in my career, I feel, because she's been one of the strongest standing female actors that we have in the industry. And like I said, all her performances consistently have been good, all her films. So in fact, when I was new into the system, and when she got to know I was on the film, she was a bit like, why do I have the new girl on my film? Why don't I have my earlier, people that I'm comfortable with? Because people, the nobody leaves Yashraj, right? There have been fellow colleagues and all that have been there for since Yash Chopra's time, Yashji's time, and so I was a new person in the system, and she was like, why do I have her? But by the end of the film, we got along so well, and we later texted each other. We're still in touch. There was such respect and love for each other, which was really good. I was very grateful for that. In as with regards to Rani Mukherjee, the actor, she is so thorough, and she knows her craft. She knows her the command over the craft of acting is incredible with her. And genuinely speaking, she looks she looks stunning in front of the camera. Like the camera loves her. So the minute the camera is on and you see her face behind it, she genuinely shines. And very, very intuitive as an actor.
So why did you leave? You sound like you were so settled and happy there.
That's the interesting part. See, before I reached Yashraj, I had already done about 6.5 years in Phantom Films, where I'd done some incredible films, including Queen and Udta Punjab. So for me, it was such an amazing next step to go to Yash Raj. And I was, for me, I was full of gratitude, and I was full of, that, and that feeling of, I did well. This is good. There's been an NDTV, there's been an MTV, then there's been Phantom, and now there's Yashraj. So this is the right path in which my career is moving. But while I was there, Shruti, there were two things that happened. One was that genuinely there was a feeling of a slight fatigue and burnout that was starting to happen, because I had been working relentlessly for, at that time, 19 years, because I'd started working in 2000, right? And pretty much without a break. So I'd reached a point where I was starting to feel a bit fatigued. And the second thing was that I just felt that if that if I stay on longer here, I will get settled. I will not feel that drive and that aspiration and that ambition that I have to tell my own story, to find my own voice. I may lose it. So before I get too comfortable, because the place had no problem, it was an absolutely, a place where you just go, work, come back, life is good, no problem. But I think I had at that time had a lot more to say, to do. So I felt that let me finish this one film and let me, step away from this, because an investment in another project would mean a year or 2 years more. And I did not feel like I wanted to spend that kind of time, because I wanted to start my own. I felt I was ready to start my own, scout for my own script, tell my own story, just go independent. But that coincided with 2020. So yeah, that was an interesting. Nobody knew what was coming up in 2020. So I wrapped up Mardaani, and it was the end of my year there. And I said, okay, I think end of 2020, 2019, I said, I'm going to take a break, go back to Delhi for a few months, because I want to just come back refreshed. And that's it. The pandemic hit, and we all have our stories.
This is true. It did hit. I remember those wonderful times when I was trying to teach my daughter and also work, and I just don't know how I did it.
Yes, how did anybody do it?
Yeah. But going back to Phantom Films, which was very interesting, because Queen did really well, and so did Udta Punjab. So how does a producer or executive producer say, yes, I'm going to take those projects on? What is it that clicks in your mind that says, yep, this is it?
So, there are two aspects to this. One is that at that time, I was an executive producer on all these projects. I was a line producer on Queen and an executive producer on Udta Punjab. Now, I was fortunate enough to be in a company that was picking up and choosing to do such incredible films, and just such incredible sort of work they were supporting and pushing for in terms of scripts, in terms of young directors. So I, luckily for me, just got good films to work on, because they were in the system and I was an in-house executive producer. But I was genuinely extremely thrilled when I read it. And especially Udta Punjab, because I was like, this is a good film to be a part of. Like, we know what a great 4 different tracks, and what we're trying to say. Why are we making this film? It just made so much more sense to be a part of that kind of film. And as the casting happened, I was like, oh my God, this is like, Kareena, there's Diljit, who we launched. Then there's Alia, who is brilliant in the film. There's Shahid. And I was like, this can't get better. Like, when these actors come and the script starts to get life, you're only very happy about that. With regards to Queen, I mean, again, Queen was we didn't even know that we were making this epic film. We were just you know all this really tight small crew together. We just took off to Paris and then Amsterdam, and then just shot this amazing film that kept happening as we were shooting. And a large part of it all came together in during the edit. And you met Abhijit, who was a very, very important part of the editing team. I mean, it was him and Anurag who edited that film, and the film came together and reached its brilliance at the editing table. So it's actually, yes, it's been wonderful because these films came to me, or I was destined to do them. Frankly speaking, I will always want to believe it, because each script has its own destiny. And so it was destined for me to do these films, let's just say this. But when I'm picking up projects now as an independent person, not only should that script, when I'm reading it or hearing it, Shruti, should it not make me excited about it? Like, there should be this magic which makes you want to either watch the film or tell the story. Because see, at the end of the day, we're all working on intuition, right? We are all, how do I know this film is going to be good or bad? All I know is that I like what I read, I like this director, and I think all of us together will be able to make a great film. That's it. It's a punt you make, right? You take a punt on this. You take a chance. You don't know whether it will be a good or a bad film. But now that one is in the business of making films, you have to then have a lot of things that will be you need to consider, which is unfortunately or fortunately the business of it. It needs to. You want to make a film that more and more people will watch. You want to make a film that will hopefully appeal to a lot of people. It'll be something that will bring in the business, and it'll critically acclaim as well. So you're all the time hoping for films that are not niche films, but films that may appeal to a larger audience as much as possible.
How did Priya's mask come about?
That for me is one of my most incredible and special experiences, because this was year 2020. Like I told you, that we hit by the pandemic, and uh, everybody's like, oh my god, like one doesn't know what's happening, what's going to happen, how long will this last, and what exactly is going on. And my friend Ram, who is the creator of Priya, is and she was basically a female, India's first comic sort of animated female superhero. And I had seen her and the book that he had come out with a few years ago at the Comic-Con. And I had always wanted to be attached to it. I just wanted to figure out how do we work together where I can use Priya to tell certain stories, certain messaging, because she's a survivor of sexual assault. And so what she stands for, where she comes from, what she could do, the possibilities were endless, right? As a comic character, you could do anything. You're not working within a certain structure. But as time and as timing is, as I always say this, so at the start of 2020, nobody still knew the pandemic was coming in. I had a chat with him right after I left Yashraj, because now I'm starting to think of things independently. And I reach out to him and I say, listen, Ram, I want to do something about this. I want to figure out how we partner. And he said, oh, interestingly, I'm working on something. It's, because it's, there's I've got a grant to do this. If you want to come on board, please do. So I was like, okay, great. So I put together a team, and literally a couple of months later, by March, it was declared, the pandemic in 2020, March was declared. And so we then decided that we will, the comic or the communication that will go out by Priya will be on vaccine, and it will be on the pandemic. And therefore Priya's mask came about, which was about talking about wearing the mask, taking care of yourself and saluting the health workers, and just a small communication that was sent out. But it went viral. It became huge, Shruti, because we were also able to bring a few Bollywood connects on board. So there was Mrunal Thakur, who was the voice of Priya. There was Vidya Balan, who was the voice of the Tigress. And then there was director Kabir Khan's daughter, who played the little girl, Meena. So the media just went crazy trying to, and I was on Al Jazeera, we were on BBC, we, gave so many. And I suddenly realized when communication is strong and the right team comes together, then people do listen. People do listen. But I also tell you, I think not only did everything come together so well and we got so much traction, I think it was also to do with the fact that people were less distracted through the pandemic, Shruti. Today, if you look at it, we're flooded with nonsense, that wasn't being generated as much at that time. So people were little, I don't know, I think a lot has changed in the last 4 years since the pandemic.
I've got to tell you, a lot of amazing talent came out in 2020 as well. So because everyone was at home, people were creating a lot of memes. They were together as a family and they create the singing videos and things were going viral.
Yeah.
The amazing thing was, and I remember so much amazing content was coming out from normal people. It was so crazy. And that's when Netflix and Prime and all those type of things started also gaining a lot of traction. Because you couldn't go out to the cinema.
Correct. And that's what happened, where you're right about the fact that there was a lot of solid and better content coming out then by people, rather than just following the stars and all of that extra information that is coming in about airport looks and that look, and this one's going to this restaurant or that restaurant. All of that wasn't there. Either people were cooking or people were coming up with this amazing recipes, or there was some amazing podcasts, there was some amazing, like you said, memes. There were also people just coming up with these happy videos, right? There were just happy videos that were coming out. So I'm saying, yes, it was a time where somehow attention was given to slightly more solid things, and which is also why Priya's mask got great traction and great reception. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember in one clip I saw Katrina Kaif actually doing the housework.
Yes. I mean, that's what you do when you don't have staff coming in. I mean, I know for all of you who live outside of India, you're like, nothing has changed for us. We still do the same. But it was a big thing for us in India, and any country which has cheap labor and working staff for you. So we had it different. We had it tough in a different way.
I feel really sorry for you guys, but for us it was just like, being at home was so amazing, like working from home.
Working from home was amazing for everybody, and I think eventually what happens is, in places like Bombay, Shruti, which have very small homes, real estate is expensive, so we live in smaller homes. I think a lot of people also struggle to work, kids online, small homes. Also, if in-laws are staying with you, like, it just was also extremely tough for many people. Though most of the people came out emotionally and mentally okay through it all, but a lot of people actually also did not have it easy.
Yeah, and it's not like you can easily isolate if you have it as well.
Exactly. There was just no space. Of course, because other cities might have bigger homes, so you can quarantine, you can be away, there's space and distance. But I know of a lot of couples and families that struggled.
Now, going back to Indian films, how do you see the role of women actually evolving in this film industry today?
So most of the workforce and also senior workforce leadership roles are with women, especially in terms of executive roles where you need certain, I would say, organization needed, management. They might not be head business roles, but managerial and management head roles are with a lot of women. Creative roles are with a lot of women. Um, Production houses have women, and so there it's been a big change, I would say. Not the time when I was young, and we did not have too many women mentors. We did not have too many women that we could look up to, ask questions. Didn't even know really. So it's been good. There are a lot more women now, young and older, in the system.
What sort of challenges do you think women face in this industry today?
The challenge would be like any other place, right? We, as women, have to at all times prove, um, at different levels and different levels of subtlety, that we belong here. We are here because we are good. We're not here because we are good looking, or we know somebody, or we could be in a relationship with somebody. So that kind of navigation, I guess, is always there. The younger generation that is now coming in as the large part of the workforce, Shruti, is operates differently from how, I don't know, how all of us were. We were a lot more, I would say, committed, scared. um, we felt like we needed to prove ourselves to belong here, and all of that. But the youth is the generation that is flooding in, is works with a different kind of entitlement, I would say. And men and women, or let's say girls and boys, don't have it the same way as we did. They have to still, I would just say, women still have to always be careful. Women always have to watch their own backs. you know uh, Women must always try and see if they can build their safe tribe, their safe space around them. But work today is being offered to men and women both, much more than before.
So I'm assuming you're talking about back office rather than the actors, actresses, right?
No, in every way, in every way. So especially in offices, when I say back office, or when you say back office, or I say offices, I mean people that are in office, as well as in the production of films, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's assistant directors, whether it's costume, whether it's hair and makeup, whether it's producers, whether it's editors, so it's a team. So there are far more women coming in. But certain segments, certain departments like camera, for example, it's still very male dominated. There are like VFX, very male dominated. There are certain technical departments that somehow don't skew towards women at all. You've got to have to be an exception, and but even in terms of acting now, I mean, it's open for men and women. Parents are very comfortable with their kids now being a part of the industry. Everybody wants to be in front of the camera, as you know, because of social media and content creation. So, parents are happy to be in front of the camera. They're okay with their children to be in front of the camera. It's far more accepted today than it ever was.
Oh, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Now, look at your typical day, Tanvi. What would it look like being, doing a film production?
So a typical day when a film is in production, as in, it's been greenlit, and now, we're in prep mode, and then we will soon be going on shoot, and then post production and release, is it's like being on a roller coaster. Because once things click, as in once you have the green light and you have locked in dates of actors, then it's pretty much relentless from the first day. So, your prep period goes on, where you identify locations, crew, key HODs. We get our cast in place. the director and the HODs sit together and break down the script to figure out requirements. All of that comes to the production team to try and build a budget around, or build a budget closer to what the budget should be. And we before anything gets greenlit, actually we need to lock the budget that it's not going to go over this amount, and then now you start getting the numbers and you start juggling so that it stays within that number. So so it's a very hectic time when prep starts, because the number of in the budget, you have to look at each and every one of them. You have to make the budget, you have to lock in each and every crew and technical crew member, cast member. So there's a lot of time, each agreement to vendor, to it is endless and it's relentless till we arrive at the shoot, where that's when you're pretty much away from the normal world and you have to put yourself in some sort of a silo, I would say, where you have to operate on your own timings and your own sort of universe of film life. So it does get tough when people are in partnerships, in marriages and all. You need to have a great partner to understand and support, because these months get very hectic.
Now, what happens if you do go over budget?
So two things happen when a film starts to feel like it's going over budget. I mean, obviously you're controlling it. You're like a hawk on it, trying to just see, can I preempt? Can I try and figure out how much or what is happening? But at all stages, you have to keep the director informed. Sometimes what happens is that requirements go out of hand and you just realize that this is going slightly insane. Then you kind of pull the plug. Then you say, what, till this is not sorted, we're not moving forward, which becomes a larger discussion by the producers, because you can't spend money that doesn't exist. So you have to pull back. You have to sort of halt sometimes the shoots to say, what, we'd rather cut our losses at this point than go through the whole journey. Or it does become where you end up telling, reworking certain sequences, which will become less expensive to compensate for the high budget that something else has caused. You need to sometimes speak to the director, the creative team, that, please stay within budget, please stay within time. We don't have more time. Things start to get tough when, or you start to get tough with the team when things are not going as per plan. Let's say it's a 12-hour shift, but over 4 days we have gone 16 hours. That immediately means 2 shifts more, right? Because it's half shift every day. So that's 4 days of half shift means 2 full days. That means 2 full days which have not been budgeted for comes in the budget. Now, either we have a provision for it, a contingency, or we figure out that this is not going to get absorbed, and so we ask for an SOS, meet and reassess how do we move forward.
How many times has it happened to you where you have had to cut your losses and say, we're not going to go forward with this movie anymore?
So at different stages it has happened, at a Bombay Velvet, or most of the time we have stayed in budget, actually. LSD 2 was also a film where, we had assumed it would be X amount of days, but it just went completely out of, I would say, I mean, the eventually what we clocked as number of hours and days of shoot were much, much more. So, we've had to sometimes get hit by all of this as well. But, if you have to keep the team, the senior team, the team that is putting in the money informed at all times. Because, you want to tell them that I did tell you in time.
How stressful is this for you, like when you're dealing with this?
It's extremely stressful, let me be honest. There is no other uh, softer way to say this. It is incredibly stressful. Not only are you handling energies of 100 people minimum every day, and departments and line items in each department which are in hundreds, you're also dealing with somebody's money, and you're dealing with somebody's creative vision and sometimes ego. So I mean, the fact that you have to juggle all of it, and try and not let it impact your health is a tough one. Is a tough one. And there are times when you just zone out, right? Your mom is calling and you just say, I'll call you back, and then you never call back. Somebody else is like, it's too many things that happen. So if one can handle this kind of stress, they should come in. Otherwise, I would just say it'll test everything about you.
So then I have to ask the difficult questions here. How do you
Why?
manage to get out of, because I'm so interested, like, yeah, how and why would you get out of bed in the morning to do this?
I'll tell you, this is what everybody's asked. This is what we ask ourselves so many times. And Shruti, the reason why we do this every single day, or we wait to do this every single day, is because this profession is the most, I think it's the best profession in this entire world, because it's the best example of teamwork and collaboration, and what we create lives beyond us. You leave a legacy behind. A film will stay forever, and it would have been that lot of energy that came together and made that film, and that energy cannot be repeated again, and that means that film can never be made again. So they are unique pieces of legacy you leave behind every time you work on something. So how can I not get up to do this? You know what I mean? How can I not? Because it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's not a job. It's a passion. We just do this because it drives us every day, because it's passion.
After you finish, do you sort of go, okay, I'm done, I'm going to sleep for a week?
I travel, frankly speaking. The way I just need to get out. I love my travels, so that's what I look forward to. I'm not a huge sleeper. I wish I was. Now I'm starting to feel like my brain is so wired and it's thinking so many things that I'm like almost begging myself to say, shut up and sleep. Because I'm up early, or like within a certain number of hours that I sleep, or sometimes I beg myself to say, go and sleep in the afternoon, it's okay, nothing's happening, just catch up on sleep, but I'm unable to. But the way to recover, the way to sort of deal with this, is to really just exist and not do anything for some days, and just, you will also not be able to, frankly speaking, you can't, like, there's just so much going on. And the other thing I must tell you about films, right? While of course one part of it is what I'm saying, which is romanticizing the whole thing, which is this energy exchange and what we come up with and what we will create will live beyond us. All that is there, definitely. But the other part of this is also very tough, which is that you have gone through a similar experience with one team for for let's say a year, for 6 months, for whatever. You are going through the experience of the film together, and nobody else gets it but you and your crew. Your family member doesn't know, your partner will not know, but your crew member knows exactly what we are doing and why we are doing and what we are going through. And it's a very, it's an experience that, whether you like it or not, brings you very close to your crew. Because I mean, we all have to wake up and we have to be on set at sometimes 6 a.m. Then all of us are waking up at 4. Nobody else will understand what this means, that I have to be on set at 5 to start rolling at 6 I have to take this shot, I need to get that angle. This is what we know. And but the minute it's the last day of shoot, it's like energy cut, and next day it's like you're on a different set and you have to now build this again with a new set of people. So as when you're younger, it really impacts you, you know, because you don't know how to deal with this emotional and this energy exchange where you're so close to people and then you're not close to them the next day. But as you get older and experience in the business, you start to detach.
This is true. I think the hardest thing is detachment.
Yes, of course, in every way, right?
Yeah, because you're living with them. Like they're there. You know, if you're doing a shot for 12 hours, you've gone some outdoor shooting, you're still in the same hotel, you're still
Of course,
interacting.
yes. It's your family. It's sometimes beyond your family. You live with them, you eat with them, you're hanging out with them, you're in different terrains, you're in tough situations, you're in high altitude, you're in you know, very hot environment. Like it's you're just going through something which only you are going through with these people. And um, that detachment takes time. You know, it is emotionally very challenging. It does put you in this space of um, how will I, you know, there are many weeks after that that you feel withdrawal symptoms, and you know, some friendships that you felt were lifelong don't exist after that. And then you realize that everybody eventually knows, oh, we're together till the film over, move. So it's also that whole experience where nothing feels permanent also. They call us the gypsies, right? We're like gypsies. We'll just camp, make a film, out, make a new camp with a new team, out. It's like that.
Do you tend to, though, now that you're more independent, do you tend to hang with your team? Like, do you have some consistent people
Yes.
that you will use?
Yes, I prefer to try and use some of those people so that there's a level of trust and comfort, and they, you know, without saying much or without trying to explain much, you get each other. I think as you get older, you realize peace of mind is what you crave the most. Trust, you need to be around people that you trust and they trust you 100%. And a shared vision, it's very important to be with people who share your vision. Like you know, they see life in the same direction as you, so that you don't have to over explain yourself, you know. And there is mutual sorry, love and respect. So some of them I do keep around me as much as I can.
What frustrates Tanvi the most?
What frustrates me the most, which is a consistent and a persistent problem, which is lack of respect when it comes to payments. Uh, you know, even now we don't get our payments in time. Even now, contracts are not adhered to. Even now, months after finishing work, crew is not paid. What also frustrates me very deeply is this huge disparity in what the artists make, especially the stars, and what the rest of the crew makes. Because we make the budget, and I feel like we're unable to fight this, and it's extremely frustrating.
I've had this chat with some actors before, not stars. Well, they are stars in my view, but not to that level. But they do this, they say the same thing, that there's nothing left for us, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just the disparity is too much, Shruti. The disparity is too much, and it's sad because everybody feels that they have a certain price they want to put to themselves. You know, after for years of experience, or for as times are changing, for what they're, but you feel like for some it just you hit the glass ceiling and it doesn't move from there, and for some it's just hitting the roof and it's, you know, touching the moon and the stars. So you're wondering why, how do we balance this out? How do we make it fair and feasible for all?
Why do you think like one day you've got this actor, star, and he's lower priced or she's lower priced, and then all of a sudden they jack their prices up? Why is that happening?
Make hay while the sun shines, number one. So, number two, the minute your one song, like, it's all a PR game, by the way. Everything is PR built. If PR makes you that this is the star to follow, this is the next big thing, this is the nation's favorite thing or whatever, sudden price will rise and everybody will start to come towards, casting you, wanting you, whatever. And then you realize that, okay, they want me so badly, then I'll put this price. This is the price I want, and they will give me. So it's a strange circle which I don't know if it will ever really break. I want it to, but don't know.
I sometimes find that quite egoistic, to be honest.
Yep.
I'm sorry if anybody stars watch this, but it is the truth.
Yes, it is not fair. I know it's not fair, really. And I have a lot of love and respect for actors, actually, because what they do is so tough. We on a bad day could potentially never get out of our bed and still get the work done. They on a bad day still have to face 12 hours of camera and perform with that kind of pressure and money riding on them. So not taking away any of that. But the profession is such where not one person can take credit anyway. You need all these people together will create that one frame that will be, shot for posterity. So there has to be respect for technicians. There has to be respect for everybody, I feel.
I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I do hope it changes. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it. You won't be the first one who's talking about it. And a lot of people are, there's the same frustration over and over. But then they're also saying it is people at the top who created this mess.
Yeah. And nobody comes together. So fact is that people don't come together to fight it or argue it or debate it or try and find a solution to it. I don't think that happens.
Who's your biggest mentor in this industry?
I've had some interesting people that I have worked with, who I've looked up to, or I've enjoyed, or I have learned a lot from, in their work ethics or the way the way they've done things. But I don't have any. I would not say. I don't know. I don't have a mentor. I think I get inspired by people whose conduct I respect, whose integrity I respect, whose intent I respect. If I know that they are here for the right reasons, then I will be inspired to work with you, talk to you, learn from you. But if I feel like our core vision doesn't match, then I'm paving my own path anyway.
Tanvi, what type of movies are you looking to produce, and what message are you trying to or want to give to your audience?
So now that one has done work in the Hindi film industry, there's Priya that I believe in, and I want her to fly even higher. So I'm going to be working more and more towards making sure that she does more, and she does she's able to do much more. So while I have worked extensively in the Indian film industry, primarily in the Hindi film industry, I feel now today the world is ready and I am ready to fully expand into making many more other kinds of content and films that I'd like to work on, produce, because I feel like I don't want to restrict myself to just the same kind of stories, same kind of people, same kind of stars, same kind of system. which I also sometimes don't agree with. So Priya is somebody that I, as a character, I fully support. So the idea for me is to try and see how can I push her to do more global work. So I'm trying to get to see what collaborations I can do to get Priya more visible and the impact she has with her stories and what she should say. Secondly, I want to explore, which I am planning to do, South, try and see if I could work with other South films and regional films, because I think there's some great stories, great artists, great technicians there that I'd like to work with. And most importantly, now I want to expand my wings towards overseas. So I do have House of TG Productions now established in the US. So we're trying to do some projects in the US, in Europe, maybe Australia. I am having two, chats on two things. So the idea would be to not restrict myself to my little oasis of Mumbai, but like the world is open for me to try and work in, collaborate, partner. Because the new way to do things, Shruti, is to, collaborate. The only way to move forward now will be to collaborate and work with like-minded people that are across the world. So that's the aim.
It's a good aim. Like after I think Priyanka Chopra went to the US, there is so much that has opened up for Indian cinema.
Yeah, they've accepted a brown face. They've kind of seen her in the mainstream now. There's Dev Patel. There's, so there is, and it's the right time to be brown in the US. Well, let's see actually now what happens with Mr. Trump coming in. But, there are the brown people, especially Indians, are in very key positions of decision making in the US. So they're opening up to South Asian stories, South Asians. So I feel like any kind of compelling content should be consumed, and that's what I would like to do. And I come with a certain amount of experience. I wish to expand that to many more regions.
What do you define as success as a producer?
I think success is the ability to be able to make decisions, and to be able to have the power to create successful projects, and to build the right team to make those successful projects. Success also comes in the way of money, of course, financial freedom and financial gains. But I feel for me personally, success is when you can live life on your own terms.
I like that. Right. Now, my last question for you is, what advice would you give young filmmakers who are sort of walking into the industry or are looking to walk into the industry?
Just remember, there is no substitute to hard work. There is no substitute to working and understanding over various projects the process of filmmaking. Today's generation is used to instant gratification, instant everything, that the fact that you may have to spend some years to reach that level of nuance and that level of direction of producing, because it's a skill that you learn over years of doing. For you to be a successful and a good producer, it takes time. So while they're in a world which is instant, they are also an instant generation. The profession they're getting into is not going to change much. The process of making everything is still going to take time. What has happened is that what we are making now has with people's reduced retention power. The way we're going to be making our stuff might change in terms of shorter content, quicker something, but the process to make it is still going to be the same. So it's classical in that sense. So to stay classical means you have to be very open to patience, to perseverance, to not giving up, to be respectful of your seniors, to understand everything is an opportunity, and each film that you get at designations that may not jump with every film is a part of the process, and you must let that process happen.
Tanvi, thank you so much for coming on Inner Habit. You have taught me the importance of your role. This is something I've never understood. We understand what film directors do, but we never understand how the executive producers or the producers actually keep things together. So, and the importance of having a producer on it. So, I'm so glad you came in to talk to me about your role, the opportunities, but also the challenges that you face as a producer.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Shruti. I'm very glad to be able to speak to somebody like yourself who's sitting in a different continent. While and the power of cinema is the same across, right? Everybody's enamored, intrigued. How does it work? How does it happen? So just so happy to be able to share whatever experience I've had so far, because the journey is still very long, and there are miles to go before I sleep. So up till now, this has been my learning, and the thing is, the only thing that I will say in the end, that the producer is at the top of the pyramid. Without a good producer, you're not going to be able to have a good film that also makes money for everybody. See, there's no point in making a film that is a great film, but watched by a few people. It eventually should be able to make money for all. It is a business, finally, right? So the right vision, the right push, the right team, the right approach is what a producer, and the right energy and protocol is what a producer sets in motion. So I would say that it's important to always remember that. But without a producer, there is no director. Without a director, there's no producer. Without a writer, there is no producer. So everybody needs everybody. These are the three pillars: the writer, director, producer, on which a film stands. So very, very important to understand and respect that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.